I spent about 3 weeks trying to figure out what's wrong with this controller. Try to find something wrong because I need to talk some shit into this. But I just I just can't. I didn't find anything. This thing is good. I tested this controller on various FPS games and RPG games. Most of them is Genshin, but I also tried on Modern Warfare, Apex Legends, Senua Sacrifice, Hell's Blade, Horizon Zero Dawn. I tried on both genre, especially FPS and RPG. There is two versions of this controller, 2.4 GHz and 2.4 plus Bluetooth. Only 2.4 GHz version, it comes with three colors. 2.4 GHz also use traditional joystick compared to 2.4 plus Bluetooth versions. That one comes with Hall sensor joystick. The packaging of the board is all paper now, unlike 8BitDo 2 Pro. And inside you get a controller, the dock, and a USB-C cable, and also a manual. Inside the dock is 2.4 GHz dongle, and the dock itself acts as a station port for 2.4 GHz dongle. Very good design of this dock and dongle to mingle together. One of the most attractive feature of this controller is their new Hall sensor joystick, which is came from Gulikit. The manufacturer of Gulikit joysticks currently is K-Silver. If you are wondering what is K-Silver actually is, they are probably one of the largest switch manufacturer in Guangdong. Almost all controller manufactured in China that is not sorted from Alps came from them. Most of the time you see Chinese gamepads slightly priced cheaper than Alps joystick. So most of the time this controller usually have K-Silver joystick. For information, all first-party controller is actually using Alps joystick. In terms of the quality, it will last long. Gulikit King Kong Pro 2 joystick still kicking, so I assume you can put your trust into this joystick. The clarity of this controller is not the worst. In fact, it's much better because this way we can assess the durability of the joystick in the long term. Unlike some manufacturer, they purposely bake to fake the security. So if you don't want stick drift, get the Bluetooth version. But if you are okay with doing replacement or maybe stick drift 2-3 years later, 2.4 GHz version is a good choice too. 8BitDo didn't put any circular ring around the joystick, so it feels a bit scratchy, but it doesn't feel too scratchy to be honest. It's fine. It's fine. But I still prefer the smoothness of a ring. For this controller, they went to medium height shaft. For comparison, 8BitDo Pro 2 controller is low high shaft, while Xbox controller is medium high shaft. Switch Pro controller is also in the medium high shaft. There is a longer shaft like Xiaomi, the one that I talked about before. The cap also is not interchangeable, but you can always put generic silicone cap on top. Joystick cap design literally the same as 8BitDo Pro 2 controller. They made a better grip design than Pro 2 controller. The dotted texture of this controller is more obvious and grippier. The surface texture of the controller also better than Pro 2, but I think it's closer to Xbox controller. Trigger design of this controller is small, perhaps not to everyone liking, but they actually follow the design of Dualsense controller. Even the curve under the trigger follow Dualsense. However, the trigger doesn't feel too flush unlike Dualsense, but it's still a fine design. This trigger design helps claw grips players, usually in FPS, which if they already using Dualsense, using this controller will feel natural. Although you might not want to switch over, more on that later. Overall body design of this controller is Nintendo Switch controller with a mixture of DualSense. You get comfort of both sides, even though slightly heavier than Switch Pro, but much less than DualSense. If you try to compare with 5000 mAh Xbox controller, this thing feels like a baby. The bottom of this controller is double mold injection. Instead printing and cover it with clear plastic, they use similar technique like keyboard keycap. I prefer this way to be honest, but it's just personal preference. So when you dock this controller, it will produce a light under the dock to indicate that the controller is charging. but it also disconnect this controller from the PC. I like more the way Xiaomi did with their 2.4 GHz connectivity. When disconnecting the controller or the controller went to sleep after 50 minutes, it doesn't virtually disconnect the controller, but this controller behavior will disconnect it just like many other controller in the market. There is magnetic click when you dock it, but it is not a strong magnet. It's just enough for you to feel like you snap the controller to the dock. If you are asking, this controller can run on all platforms, it's partially true. Inside the menu, there is just PC and Switch. Officially, the controller only support PC and Switch. So if you want to use Bluetooth to connect to other platform, you will connect as Nintendo Switch controller. For iOS, you require iOS 16. While Android on my phone, it does not work unless the controller itself, like Pro 2 controller, has Android or mobile mode. To simplify, this controller mimic every aspect of Switch Pro controller, every inch of it. If your platform can connect to Switch Pro controller, then most likely you can. In terms of speed, the controller is not the fastest in the market, but for 2.4 GHz, it will perform better than your regular Xbox controller. You cannot overclock the controller, wired or wireless. Not sure if there is other method to do it. This is actually by design. The poly rate is between 250 Hz and 125 Hz. 125 Hz is usually Xbox controller. 250 Hz is usually run for PlayStation console. This is actually by design and not because it failed to maintain 250. I believe this is their way to reduce power consumption of high polling rate. Faster controller that I have wirelessly is Xiaomi Elite Pro, which runs on 2.4 GHz at 500 Hz, and Dualsense at around 700 to 800 Hz on Bluetooth. On Bluetooth, the controller polling rate is slow, running at about 50 to 65 Hz. This again to match with the Switch Pro controller. Again, this also ensure that the Switch console not to dry out faster. So if you are playing using this controller on your PC or phone in competitive games, using this controller via Bluetooth doesn't feel great. For the Maker, you technically can record all button combination on all buttons on this controller except plus and minus. 8BitDo probably the only third-party controller that makes a software that is not bloated and lightweight. Unlike Razer, just download the program, put it somewhere, and if you want to use it, doesn't need to be active to use the macro. However, entering the macro is still not easy. You need to click manually by mouse, not by pressing buttons on the controller. Then you can assign the macro on any buttons excluding plus and minus. I rarely use macro, perhaps never use it. The controller has three profiles where you can put all your button mapping inside. I just use it to map back button to left and right joystick. The profile also synchronizes the macro separately, but did not allow another setting of another profile to be copied to another profile. So if you have 10 macros, you need to re-enter everything manually as far as I know. If anyone know a better way to do it, please write it down in the comment. You can also remove the dead zone if you want, customize the active area, and customize vibration strength. Nothing too fancy, but good to have. This controller vibration is smoother than 8BitDo Pro, but I still feel it's a bit generic. Durability, considering Pro 2 controller which I used for 8 months, this will probably do well in 3 to 4 years before it totally destroyed by my hand. My Pro 2 controller already shows sign of wear and tear. The silicone on right bumper already losing tactility. The right trigger is significantly lighter than the left side. On this controller, it already shows similar sign in just 3 weeks. I think it's the same performance in terms of durability. It's not as bad as Pro 2, but I can feel the right bumper is slightly lighter than the left bumper. 8BitDo also released silicone spare part for Pro 2, so I expect they will do the same for this controller. At this moment, I don't see any spare part was sold in their website. Silicon membrane switch probably the first thing that will break on me, so I hope that 8BitDo will release it in their store. Conclusion: Jack of all trades, master of none. 8BitDo do it again on this controller using the same concept, the same formula, just put best thing in the industry into their product, but never extend it too much. Nothing is fancy with this controller. I'll be honest, nothing. If you are talking there is a dock, yeah, you can buy Dualsense, you can buy third party dock. It's the same thing. The only good thing is about their dock is their dock can act as a terminal for 2.4 gigahertz. Nothing too fancy, but it all will work. Price wise, this controller will compete with $70 controller like Gulikit, Dualsense, and perhaps Xbox. To be honest, it's quite cheap for the price considering the easiness to use this controller. I think this controller is the value for money product in 2022 and perhaps in 2023. However, if you want performance, even in wireless categories, you might want to have a look at DualSense. Or if you want to use on other platform other than Switch, other controller might serve you better in that case. And if you don't mind not having Hall sensor joystick, $50 2.4 gigahertz will work too. So the pro, 2 back button, faster than average Xbox controller, good macro programs, no drift joystick, and a dock. The con, jack of all trade, master of none. So if you like my review, please like and subs, and bye.